We're going to have a little fun on the 5 and not beat up on Bob, at least in the A block. Conspiracy theories, great dinner table talk, but how many people actually believe in them? For example, do you think that aliens landed at Roswell? Was the moon landing faked, and is Bigfoot real? Well, there's a new poll out that tells us just how many Americans actually believe some of this stuff. It was kind of surprising. And Eric, I was wondering, as your black helicopter dropped you off today at Fox, did you have any conspiracy theories in mind?
It's awesome. I do have one conspiracy theory. But by the way, you're right. I do take a black helicopter. They're always there, by the way. You know, look,
You're good
here's
at
my conspiracy
theories.
theory. Ready? Porter, our producer, for 5 days now has promised that I could tell the world that we are #2 in all of cable news for the first quarter of 2013. And every single day at the end of the show, I was supposed to do it. We run out of time. My conspiracy theory is that Porter has known this all along. He's not letting me do it at Porter. I promise I won't thank our wonderful audience for making us #2, and I promise I won't promise to bring them along for the ride to #1.
So well played. Well played, Eric Bolin, with the conspiracy. Andrea, what about you? You worked on Capitol Hill, and you know that there were times when all of a sudden your office would get a ton of calls, and you'd be answering the calls, and people would have a theory that turned out to be a conspiracy theory. Often you would think they weren't true, but there's a lot of people that think things are true. Are you a conspiracy theorist at all?
On some things, yes. For example, I think JFK was murdered by the mob. I think that Marilyn Monroe did not overdose, for sure.
But did what? Oh, killed.
I do.
Oh,
I definitely do.
Whacked.
Also, she was definitely killed.
No,
they were going to get their hands on her diary.
I like the way you use that Italian stuff, whacked.
And there was a big conspiracy theory in my generation, Dana, which was that Tupac Shakur is still alive. I do not think that that one is
Jim
true.
Morrison. And
Well, he's living with Elvis, and
I was surprised in this list. There was 6% of people think Paul McCartney never died. 6%.
No, died.
He didn't.
No, that he
died.
Oh, that he died. Oh, that's right. Whatever.
Wait, who's the guy?
Beatles. Wait, was that like the Beatles or something?
It was the Monkees.
Who cares? I listen to country music.
Who did you mean if it wasn't Paul McCartney? John Lennon?
No, it actually is. It is Paul McCartney. That people think that 5% of voters believe that Paul McCartney actually died in 1966. But I think that...
So who went to the White House and performed for the Obamas?
Well, see, this is a great conspiracy, and that's why they could just keep going and going. Now, Greg, I was trying to think of a conspiracy theory involving you, but the thing is, everything is true.
I know, that's the problem. You know what I love about the hardcore conspiracy-minded person? There's an inherent contradiction. They believe that governments and corporations are controlling or are creating a world that is fooling all of us, but them. They can see through it, but we can't, except that they're abject failures. If you ever see a real hardcore conspiratorialist, if they know all of this, why aren't you at least clean?
Or like the
why don't you have all your teeth?
The Unabomber is a good example.
But no, I'm talking about the guys that sit next to you and talk about, we're lizard people. By the way, conspiracies, the whole point of them is to answer one question, and the question is, who runs the world? And we've often see this. It's either the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, the Rothschilds, the Illuminati, Council on Foreign Relations, or Carrot Top. Nobody knows except for me. The person, the animal that runs everything, who has his paws and everything, is that evil dog, which actually is a Swedish boy in a costume.
That lives in your basement?
Well, he will be. Anyway, the best thing, you know how you fight conspiracies? You tell them that their theories are part of a conspiracy. When a 9/11 truther starts talking about 9/11 truth, you blame him for 9/11. And you say, you're just saying that. You're just saying that so we don't know the real truth. And that totally blows their mind.
Now, Bob, I want to ask Bob, I know that there are a couple things you felt like you couldn't talk about because you might know about something, which might add to a new conspiracy for us. But you don't seem like too much of a conspiracy theorist, except you have one on your mind.
Well, by the way, I do believe in the Trilateralists. I think they do.
You're a total conspiracy theorist, Bob.
No, I agree with you. I've always thought the Kennedy assassination was never quite figured out. But I got to be a little careful here. I always say this. I think that there is absolutely has been visitors from other places on this planet.
Visitors from, like, not of this planet to this planet.
Aliens?
Just of one.
Do they
You're talking about
IDs?
Roswell?
I don't want to talk about that.
Do they carry IDs? Because
you can't call them space aliens. You just have to call them non-human visitors.
Undocumented space people.
Put it this way. I think there's been things found in the world that have been from outer space that have been kept quiet.
Like what?
Keith Olbermann.
He'll tell it. Maybe there will be one day when he'll be able to tell.
He's actually Bigfoot.
Do you know that 7% of Americans think that the moon landing was faked, but overseas, especially in the Middle East, Bob, they really do believe that America never put a man on the moon.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's a big conspiracy over there, but you know, there was a conspiracy by NASA during that, and that was when Armstrong first got off and put his foot down. He said that's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind, and NASA changed it, dropped the A out of it to make it the perfect slogan, and they kept that going for 20 years before people figured it out.
Except for man and mankind is the same thing, so they kind of shot themselves in there.
Well, maybe they did, but
moon boot.
I have one crazy theory that the American media industry conspired to get an unqualified Alinskyite to the most powerful position in the world to enforce a European-style socialism on a vulnerable nation. That would never happen.
No. And that person was born where?
Oh, obviously, Kenya.
Well, obviously, of course.
That's because you guys have a conspiracy. There's communists outside your window all the time, isn't it? You and Greg.
Wait.
I wish.
You believe in aliens have visited, are here now, or have come and gone?
Sometime.
Sometime
I really don't want to get.
What about
wait. Hold on. But one of the first shows you said you believe in ghosts.
I certainly believe.
But that's okay to talk about. But the aliens, I'm going to hold on.
No, there's a reason, because he used to work someplace where he might know something about that. That's why he's not able to say, or else there might be
Bob.
problems.
I think I was with you on that episode where I said I did believe in ghosts because my apartment building's haunted. But what about the Pan Am flight? Do you remember that Pan Am flight that went down at Kennedy Airport? And a lot of people said that it was actually shot down by the government. There's a number of conspiracy theories about that flight.
The biggest one of all time are the 9/11 truthers who claim that the World Trade Center was brought down from within, and not the two planes that I watched fly into those buildings. That is disgusting.
And there's another piece of that,
Americans who died in
that my husband traveled to Egypt, was on a business trip, and he said he's with some guys that are professional guys, worked in the medical profession, and they're having dinner, and that these guys truly believed that no Jews went to work on 9/11. That they were all told beforehand that that's a scary thing about conspiracy theories.
No,
the Muslims believe that the Jews did not go to work that day, and that no Jews died.
I've heard 15 close friends who are Jewish who died.
I know, but that's the dangerous thing about conspiracy theories.
But the thing, why it's so easy to be a conspiratorialist is it disguises intelligence, because you actually don't have to find facts. All you have to do is raise questions. So a truther is asking you to disprove what you saw. They're not trying to prove anything. They're just saying, oh, I'm just raising a question. How did those planes really get there? And you could say, I saw it. But that's not enough for them, because they don't want to do the hard work because they're stupid.
I had it out with Jesse Ventura on air once, and he told me that there's no way that those planes could have brought the thing down because the beams wouldn't have melted from jet fuel. And I said, Jesse, what are you talking about? He goes, no, it takes 1,800 degrees to melt it, and jet fuel burns at 780 degrees. Unless you account for hours and hours and hours of melting and heat and pressure and what.
Jesse's brain is melted.
It's disgusting. One thing about my son brought me in the internet thing. A lot of kids are watching about 9/11, and it's very well produced, and it got all around the young people. Where in the Pentagon, they never found any of the engines from the plane. They never found any pieces of the plane. Now that's because it disintegrated. I mean, but and the hole in the side of the Pentagon was not the size. Blah 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 blah. And this thing went around, and these kids believe. My son still, to this day, he doesn't believe about the World Trade Center, but he thinks in Washington that the Pentagon was not hit.
But let me ask Andrea about social media, because we talk a lot about the opportunities and challenges that Facebook, Twitter, texting, and being able to send videos around like that. Do you think that social media helps fuel conspiracy theories, or helps, or maybe you can squash them online?
Oh, I think it has made them so much worse. If I had a nickel for every time I used to get from a family member a forward that would say, pass this on, and it would be this alarmist forward, and a couple of them I read and I thought, but you can quickly find out if they're not real. And then I would send them back and say, please don't send me this kind of thing. But I would scroll down and see all the people on the chain. And I would think all these people
How many
are now
people?
buying
Like a chain
this
letter.
nonsense.
Greg made a very good point here. The problem with the conspiracy thing is you've got to disprove their conspiracy
and it takes too much time. And you have to imagine, like Popular Mechanics did a great achievement of disproving all the 9/11 truthers because they had the time and the effort to do it. None of us we have jobs. I'm not going to sit around and answer an idiot's questions.
Just remember, David Duchovny said on X-Files, the best show ever produced. It's not a conspiracy if they're really out to get you.
That's right. That's why I'm so paranoid. Well. Coming up, some more Hollywood heavyweights are throwing their support behind 1960s radicals. This time, Will and Jada Smith are producing a film that glorifies